I guess StreamYard is saying, hey, lady, you have been busy today. Welcome back. We are back in the Author's Corner. My name is Marissa Bludorn. I am the editor-in-chief and CEO of Own It Magazine and Publishing. And tonight I have with me number one best-selling author, Ray Colston, taking center stage and owning it with me, Grief Through His Eyes. We are so excited to have you here with us tonight. How are you doing, Raymond?
I'm blessed, and I thank you, Coach. Trust me, Coach. Fine. Like, please, let's not don't make it formal and first and last name. Coach Ray is perfectly fine. I'm
Coach
blessed.
Ray is in the house.
Yes.
So I'm excited to speak with you tonight. I've been interviewing for the last few days the lineup of co-authors that are Grief Through His Eyes. We were talking about the male's perspective and going through grief and just being really transparent in regards to sharing their vulnerability and what they've experienced. And so, oh my God, I'm speaking this into existence. Deborah Fry is the visionary anthologist, the visionary author, and she recruited you to be in
Yeah.
this project with her. And so, share with the audience the title of your chapter and what encouraged you and inspired you to go along with this.
The title of my chapter is Achieving Purpose Through Pain. That is the title of my chapter. I gotta say, what inspired me to join on this is just I got a text message earlier that day from Miss Latrece Mcknight, somebody I respect dearly, and she said there's an opportunity coming your way, and you need to take it. And
Wow.
some and it was about that was transpiring, and I got the message from Mama Fry's, what we call her, and just went from there.
Yeah.
I've known the
Yes. Oh,
Fry. I've known them my whole life since I've been, in church since I was a kid. So they've known my family. I've known them. Um, it was
wow.
an honor. It was an honor to be asked, and it was a blessing to be a part of it.
Wow, wow. They have made a huge impact on young people, just like you're doing today. But they've had a huge impact because Jelante shared that same story earlier today when we were in session and we were into that interview. He shared how they were such a model family that he yearned to have and he looked to, and you're sharing that same story. So it's a theme in which they have really opened up their home and they're opened up their hearts to young people. That leads me to passion through purpose through pain. It looks like you took what you went through, and instead of looking at it from a negative perspective, you took what you went through and you build your purpose through that. Could you share a little bit more on that?
Yeah, most definitely. Achieving Purpose Through Pain is a chapter that was written in regards to what I dealt with after my father passed. And a lot of my friends, a lot of close people didn't know the depths of the mental struggle that I was going through that process, because I was the middle child of three brothers. And and when my father passed, I found out that day when I was at work when I found out that my father passed. Like, I had went to the school, I was working at Lake Taylor Middle School, and I got a call, and then my father had passed. And so while in my first period class is when I got the information. So I'm trying to figure out how to get downstairs and keep my emotions in check to tell my boss, like, I gotta go. My father just died. And so after I did that, I had my moment. I broke down and cried in the office, and a couple friends came and sat with me until one of my close friends came and picked me up. But in the process of getting through the funeral and all that, I didn't get the right time to grieve, because, again, my younger brother was in high school, and I was trying to help my mom get her through it. And in getting my mom through it, I was trying to grieve, but I couldn't, because I had to be the pillar of the family, the strong one, and not getting the right opportunity to grieve. And so what happens, I bottled everything up. And we're talking like through the whole process. bottled it up, never got the chance to grieve. And then what happened, it started to grow and manifest into other things. And this is a conversation I have with a lot of young people now, is it started to manifest into a lot of things. Like I started heavily drinking. I was out, random women, what have you. Those were my coping mechanisms because I didn't grieve. I
Yeah.
didn't. I'm just being real. That was what I thought would get me through, when in actuality it was creating more pain for me. The only joys that came out of that process were my kids. Granted, they're not the way that they expect a Christian man to have kids, but it is what it is. I love
Right.
my kids. So, but in that process, I just didn't get the right opportunity to grieve. But as time progressed, God revealed to me that there was something bigger for me, that He didn't want me to stay stagnant in my pain, which is what I was trying to do, but He wouldn't allow me to do that. And so, I went through this process of trying to figure out what my purpose was and why I'm here. What am I doing? And finally, God just was like, "You're supposed to be here to get you. You're created for something more than just being a coach. I created you for something bigger than that. Coaching
Wow.
football is easy for you. That's an ability I gave you just because you like to do it. But there's a bigger purpose for you." And in that conversation I had with Miss Latrece Mcknight some months ago, it was probably about a year or so ago, 2 years ago, we talked about it because I had felt like a failure for a long period of time. And then she kind of like reinvigorated the passion in me to switch up some things I was doing, and then went from there. So that's how I got to my purpose, you
Wow.
know.
Wow, that's it. It's interesting that you the first thing that we see consistently is the bottling up instead of expressing, or it's an expression out of anger. How old were you when your dad passed?
I was 27,
Oh wow.
and yeah, I was 27 years old, and we were close. Like, that was my guy, Grant. That was my guy. That was my dad. Like, when I go through difficult times now, like, I know my dad would probably be like, he was a very smooth, laid back guy. So like his tone would probably be something like, "Hey, you be all right, just talk about it, get through it." But not having that voice hurt for some years. And what people don't understand is that pain doesn't leave. You just learn how to manage it better as time progresses. When you start actually grieving right, it doesn't leave. You just become a better manager of it. You figure out the methods that help you get through it. Those days where you gotta cry, you let it out. You don't hold it in anymore. So, at 27 years old, I didn't have that information. I just,
Yeah.
like I said, bottled it all up.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's the age I was when my mom passed. So,
Mm.
my mom passed when I was 27, 26, 27 years old. And I was already married. I was married. I had been married for about 5 years. And, yeah, I was married I think it was about 5 years I was married. And I had already had two children. And so, my mind, and we were already crazy for Christ. I mean, I was crazy for Christ when I was very, very young. Um, there is a lot that goes through it. There's a releasing process too that is a part of grief. I'm not sure. I'm not a grief counselor, but as you were speaking, I just, I was listening and I was like, wow, is there a release of it? Is there, because I know even today there are moments where life can slow down for me, and then I can realize, yeah, man, I really wish my mom was here. Even when my kids were growing up, wishing that she was there to help them through certain levels, which I felt like a grandmother should have done, not me as a mom. That I wish that she would have been able to have conversations with my children, not just me always being the one to say this is the better way or this is what you should be doing. To have another generation up to be able to, reinforce the right way, that level of wisdom. Did you ever really experience any of that?
Yeah. In all honesty, voices that channel you and kind of guide you, they pop in, and you remember some of the advice from just
Hmm.
hearing their voice. You remember the advice, And I think throughout this process, one of the things that hurt me the most, and it still does some days, is my father always wanted to be a grandfather.
Mm,
And passed a few years before my kids were born. And that was something he talked about a lot, was being a granddad and having a granddaughter and grandson. And one thing I know, my granddaughter, my granddaughter, his granddaughter, my daughter, I think they would be tight as all get out. And my son as well. So having like the holidays come around and him not being able to spoil them sometimes does affect me.
yeah, 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 yeah. So I believe this is Friday. In grief, you will have some periods of release on one day, and the next day, here comes another grief wave. Yeah, grief does not have a timetable. Some people grieve
Nah,
longer others. No, and it doesn't. And I've had moments where I've actually, and just recently just melted down and just cried and said, I really, really miss, my mom. And they're just like you said, if that's your dude, your guy. My mom and I were very close before she passed because I had already become a mom. I had already become a wife. I had just purchased my first home, so she was alive when I purchased my first home. So she got to see me do a lot, but very much at the beginning. And so just just really, really missing her um, and allowing me the space to have that moment. Do you allow yourself to have that space too?
I do now. I definitely do now. In the beginning, I didn't. I just would figure out something to kind of occupy time, and people don't realize when you bottle it up and you're trying to be super strong, and I don't want to seem weak. Like, you're killing yourself on the inside. You are,
Mhm.
and this is the advice that I've gotten. My wife, for example, she got into therapy herself, and it encouraged me to do it because I wasn't gonna do it. I wasn't gonna do it. But as a black male, because we have that stigma, nah, we ain't doing it. Let me tell you, it's one of the
That's
best
not a black issue. That's not what's said. And I speak to. I have a girlfriend who suffers from depression, and she shared. She said that's not a black issue. That's not a black woman's issue. Because she's a female, but it's not a black issue, and it is something that we need to do. We do need to have therapy because what goes in has to come
thing.
out.
And
It's a
bottled,
process.
I bottled stuff up for years, and now I'm really getting it out. And I'm like, man, this stuff feels great to get off my shoulders. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you're talking years and years of trauma and pain and frustration and bottling up, and you just holding it in, thinking that you're gonna make it through. And what happens? You become somebody different. You become an alternate version of what God created you for because you bottled everything up. And
Yeah,
you can't live the way He designed you to live because you're living off of, like, you're operating off of trauma. So that version of you is not God's version of you. That is a pain filled version of you.
yeah,
You
yeah.
live
Yeah. And you're truly acting out of character, right?
yeah,
So you're acting out of character, and then that makes you, if you really love yourself, when you have to come out of character, I know for me, I'm mad if I have to deal with something that has pushed me out of being my nice happy-go-lucky self. When I'm coming after you, I'm mad because now I have to be out of character, and I don't like being out of character.
yeah. And that's the thing. Like, what I'm learning, I don't want to put this on everybody, but what I'm learning in this process is who I was not the version God created me to be. It was not. And I'm still growing today. The realistic part of it is I'm still growing today. The difference is, like a lot of people, I'm willing to admit it.
Right.
I'm willing to admit that there's still, like, I'm still growing, but the better version of me is on the horizon because
Yeah.
I'm going to get myself fixed regardless of what anybody else thinks. I got to get this stuff out. I got to get this trauma off me because it's affecting people that I love. It's affecting family members. It's affecting, home life. It's affecting people I love.
Yeah, yeah. So now, would you say that writing the book was therapeutic in helping you become that better person?
Yes. this process, and Mama Fry can tell you, like, I told her, like, I feel a lot better because I was able to get something out that I bottled up for so long, that nobody knew the depths of the struggle that I went through, the depths of the frustrations that I went through, the depths of the pain that I held in for years. You're talking about somebody, I was working with the youth at the church at the time. I had so much stuff bottled up that when people are like, how you doing? Yeah, I got the mask on. I'm fine. I
Yeah.
got the mask on. But I ain't fine. Saturday night, I was out drinking till I couldn't walk. And Sunday, walking in church, like, yeah, I'm fine.
Mm.
I was living in pain for so long. And it wasn't healthy, but I could put the mask on so quick. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good, brother. I'm teaching kids and all this stuff. I'm good. But I was so hurt.
Yeah. 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 27 is a very prime age where you are coming into knowing yourself a whole lot more than you did when you were a teenager, but there's still so much more of you that needs discovering, and there's so much more of you that still needs that parenting guide. You just need the parenting guide on a different level. So when that's absent, now you have to figure out how to fill that gap. I want to, for those people who are just chiming in and you're like, what are they talking about? This is the #1 best-selling book, and one of the contributing writers. I know he doesn't want me to be formal. He's saying
Please.
Coach Ray. And the book is Grief Through His Eyes. We're looking at the male's perspective of how they've experienced grief and how they've processed it and come out of it. And so I want to talk a little bit about you and the things that you've been doing. I know you said you are much more than a coach. What are you saying when you say that? What are you?
I am I am what God created to be necessary. And I say that because I am an advocate for the next generation. And I'm realizing that I have downplayed me in my purpose for so long, trying to, play the humble role, but now I understand that God created me out of necessity. He formed me out of necessity to be impactful with the next generation. So when I say I'm more than a coach, coaching is the fun part. I'm a mentor. I'm here to guide. I'm here to educate. I'm here to love. I'm here to encourage. There's a bigger picture on the horizon. I'm here to train. I'm here to do so many different things for to help the next generation be great. That the coach part is just the title. But best believe I'm the best. I am the best coach for the youth making it to the next level that there is. And that's why I say that's me no longer wanting to play the humble role, because God said, I didn't create you to be humble, I created you out of this.
Mm-mm. He said, "Don't play it small or safe."
Yeah, it's safe. Like, you playing safe, you can't win games playing it safe. So
Mm. No, you got to go in. And so share with me, because I'm looking at some of the, coach, mentor, educator, trainer, coach. I see that you have your coach, and you coach football, correct?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. And any other sport that you coach?
I strictly football at this point. I did softball for a year. I coached girls basketball. So football was the niche that I stayed with. That's the gift that the guy. That's the linchpin to be able to build those relationships with a lot of kids that I've been involved with.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So you won Best Male Mentor Award by the Black Men of Rocks organization. Can you share with us about that experience? What does it require for you to win such an award or be honored with such an award?
Um, just getting to the spot. You know what I mean? That's a term. Just being where I'm supposed to be. Just knowing that the community needed me. The kids in the community needed something more from me. And the coaching part, again, I'm gonna reiterate, the coaching part is easy, but being able to impact the youth on a greater level and get them to see their bigger picture and not the picture that I want for them, but their bigger picture was key in that.
Mhm, mhm. You said something that's really important too, is that we have plans for our young people. We see their gifting, we see their talents, but they also have their own vision for their life. So when we speak to young people, we have to be mindful of that they may have their own plans, and that we're here to help as a guide to help them to really discover and to set a strong foundation. Um, Talk to us about the train method. You help in implementing this with the next generation. It's an acronym. And so could you share with us what the train method is all about? As much as you can, so
I
to
will,
speak.
I, I will get to a snippet of it. The train method is basically, think about it like this. I am here to train not only the students and student athletes, but the teachers, the parents, the community members on how to help the youth transition to the next level of their life. So what entails for them to make it to the next level of their life. So from 5th grade to 6th grade, that's a transition. That's a huge jump from elementary to middle, from middle to high school, from high school to college, from college to the workforce and what have you. So the train method is to equip you to be able to step into that next realm of your life seamlessly.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And now, since we're on this, talk to us about the 4 pillars.
4 pillars of the successful youth are family, education, community, and their self-confidence. Those 4 things, if all of those 4 things align, any child can be successful. When we look at a lot of the kids that are struggling or have had some setbacks, one of those things are missing. They're either super talented, but they don't have support at home. They got support at home, but they don't have the education. The community's not behind them, or they don't have any self-confidence, so they can't attention. So those are the 4 pillars that we focus on, and that I focus on, and trying to get the youth to the next level.
Oh, awesome, awesome. And how do why is it important? Because I know growing up, um, it wasn't discussed in our homes, like like you knew family tradition, but you didn't know family tradition. You didn't know necessarily why you did what you did. When you identify for the pillars, when you identify core values, when you identify them specifically and why they're important, um, why is that important for the success of the student or the child? And not only identifying, but making sure that they understand why these pillars, these core values, these moral convictions are so important for their success.
There has to be bullet points for them to follow. And I think a lot of kids don't have those centralized points, or don't understand that these focus points will help you. There a lot when we look at a lot of the issues with the youth now, like let's be honest, let's snatch the band-aid off. We're we're losing young people at an extremely high rate. We are. And a lot of them are being, doing it to each other. A lot of them don't have the emotional stability, they don't have the emotional support at home. So
Mhm.
understanding that those bullet points for your life are key. Those central morals are key. And we as the adults, and I'm not focusing on the kids in this moment, I'm focusing on the adults. Until we actually align with those morals, the kids are going to continue to struggle. So the struggles with the kids, I don't blame them. I blame the adults that are in their lives.
Wow. I'm smiling really hard because that's my ideology. That's my belief. My belief is it's not the children, it's the adult. And you said something that was very critical, is that adults have to own they have to own these pillars. And when I say own them, they have to believe them, eat them, drink them, sleep them, and then they have to walk them. Not just talk about it, but walk that thing out so that they're modeling the correct behavior, ideology, methodology, approach, behavior, characteristics, traits, all of that, which young people don't listen to what we say. They see what we do and they mimic what we do.
But the actions we display cause more damage than the words we can speak at times to kids. For instance, I don't know if you saw, they had the incident where the youth football coach was killed at the youth football game. It was a 9-year-old youth football, 9-year-old. And those kids now have to grow up with that trauma because one adult couldn't control his emotion. How do we expect the youth to be able to control their emotions when we can't? How do we expect them to be able to progress in life when as adults, we're willing to say, I'm mad over a 9-year-old game and I'm going to shoot this guy? This is what they see. So this becomes their norm. This is why we get kids that are okay with going to the street, because they have coaches and mentors that think they still belong in the street. And these are the people that are guiding the kids nowadays. And we wonder why the kids are lost.
Yeah, we wonder why the kids are lost, and why these kind of why this book is so prevalent, not only for this moment, but you're going to have to deal with that next wave of kids that are going to go through grief and loss and trauma and drama. That's why these things are so important. And just like you said, the critical thing is to get to the adults. Is to really get to the adults to make them understand the significance of their impact on our young people. That's why when you and I were talking offline, it's so important with the BTG magazine is to have these conversations in environments that they're normally like kind of skipped over. They're kind of skated over. I wanted to go back to the pillars and understanding that when you create these pillars, when you create when you identify core values, they're easily transferable. They create boundaries. They create guiding factors by which decisions and behaviors and responses are actually governed and thought through. I call it the CAP approach, making sure pillars, and when you have core values that are identifiable, clearly identifiable, and that's what you said too, that they have to be clear, clearly identifiable through bullet points, acronyms. But if you make it clear to the child what the purpose is, why is this pillar or value so important, and then you make it achievable. You explain it and you reinforce it in such a way that they see that they can actually do it. And they can achieve it, and then you share with them what the payoff is. What do they get out of it? Because they want to know, if I do this, well, what's in it for me? Yeah, so it's called the CAP approach.
I like that.
Make sure it's clear, it's achievable, and what the payoff is. You could do that with any group that you are serving in a leadership capacity. You want to make sure the pathway is clear. You want to make sure that they have the skill set, the mindset, the ability, reinforce it, all the resources that they need to make sure that it's achievable, and then make sure that the payoff is high value to them, not to you, but to them. This is amazing. I mean, so many points that you brought up. I mean, thinking about this from a perspective of generational impact is so important too, because it's just like that. I actually got a chance to say, I actually today got a chance to look at the news.
Right.
And that's exactly what I saw. And I totally, until when you said that, I said, oh my God, that is so right. And then also, this individual is a high profile individual, even though he's a relative. He's not the football player, but he's a brother.
Related to him.
He's related to him.
And that part's kind of touchy for me, because at the end of the day, the man who did it his onus should be on him. His brother is his brother.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, and one of the big things that we have to do as adults is nowadays, like, taking accountability as adults is becoming a lost art. It's, everybody wants to point the blame as to why they did something or who made them do something, versus just owning up to it, because the kids are starting to adapt that point and blame mentality. As a high school coach, I see it all the time. You know, you hold a kid accountable, but there's always a but. There's always
Right.
because. No, I always tell them before they even start, yes, sir, coach, I got you. That's all you, that's it. And as a coach, if I'm wrong, I'm quick to be like, my bad, I was wrong.
Yeah.
Whether I,
We have
but I'm, my fault, that's on me. I'm quick with it because they need to know accountability from an adult. And one of the things that I know I reference a lot is the older generations that we grew up under, they didn't take accountability for a lot. So it kind of trickled down to where it's like we felt like we didn't have to, but we do. Because now the kids will understand, the next generation will understand how important accountability is and how important that is towards their growth. And because that gentleman, they wanted to point the finger at his brother, it's like his brother ain't pulled the trigger.
No.
Point the finger at the guy that did.
No.
Point the guy that did. And we're losing kids because adults don't want to take accountability for their actions, but they want to feel like they're inclined to mentor kids. No, that doesn't translate.
No, it doesn't translate, and they shouldn't be. And my point about him being connected with someone who's a high profile, you should automatically check your behavior even more so.
Right.
Everyone's action is their own independent action. No one, and I get it. Doing what I do today and the amount of people that I work with and I serve, I get why folks act the way they do with family and friends, because people start acting a fool, and you don't want to be associated with that. And if you don't know that you are independent of their actions, you could actually take ownership of someone else's behavior that does not belong to you. It is that is independent. But my thing is, one of the convictions should have been, I need to always be at my best behavior, because I don't only represent myself, I also represent my family as well. And that was my point in regards to that. It should have been some level of conviction there.
I totally agree with you. There should be some level of conviction, but one has never ever felt conviction. How do you play it? And the lack of conviction across the board is what's hurting these kids, because the actions of the adults, they feel no conviction. It's just, I'm upset, I'm going to act out because this is what I feel. And now we wonder why the kids can't manage their emotions. Like, I work at a high school too. Like, it ain't just the football thing. Like, I work in the building. Kids are struggling with learning they're struggling with emotional stability. They're struggling with it because they don't see it at home.
No.
So when they get to school, when somebody tells them no or they can't do something, they lose it. Some of them lose it because they don't understand how to check their emotions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. And I can say that. I can be honest and say that because that's something that I struggled with in my life. Was being able to manage myself emotionally.
Yeah. And again, it goes back to those core values are guiding points. Those pillars, if they're discussed enough, are guiding points. They're not just pillars just because they're pillars and they're nice to say, but they should be governing points that say, those should come to your remembrance to say, whoa, wait a minute, I have to have some level of conviction, something to navigate through my behavior. And so that's, and just like you said, a lot of times they don't know how to self-regulate because there are no consequences. And if there are consequences, the consequences are so foggy and fuzzy that you really can't see them as true consequences, and they don't have the level of impact that'll cause changed behavior. And so,
No, I'm agreeing with you. I think that the level of impact should come from them being held accountable, but it can't be a gray area, if it makes any sense. Because when you give them that wiggle room of the gray area, they now can distort the situation. Kids aren't dumb. These up and coming generations are not dumb. They know how to manipulate the situation in their favor. They know how to talk. They know how to move words very, very seamlessly to fit what they need. And the reason why is because there was gray area when they were kids. There was gray area. There wasn't a solid yes and no. It was just under the condition I don't feel like it. Or I'm
Right.
sorry, no condition that I don't feel like it. But when I feel like it becomes a yes.
Yeah. They do. They do. And that's, again, it goes back to the adults. We are talking to #1 best-selling author, Coach Ray.
I got it.
Keeping it normal, grief through his eyes. And we've gone in and we've dived into an area where we're talking about the next and up and coming generation, because he is a mentor, he's a coach, and he works with young people, the younger population. And this is a valid, concern for our young people, because now here the grief can continue, in the sense of, because when talking to Jelante earlier this morning doing that interview, his loss was his father to drugs. Your loss is from a father who passed away. The absence of a parent or the negligence of a parent can have an adverse impact and effect on our young people as well. So with all of that, talk to us about, is there anything happening with you now, segueing into this? Is there anything going on that you want to share with the audience about, that's happening with you? Are you going to be a part of the next project? What's going on?
Hopefully so. I would love to get back in it and keep this ball rolling. As of right now, I am this Thursday coming up, I will be speaking at doing an in-service with the kids at IC Norcom's freshman orientation. So I'm gonna be there. They're gonna get the Coach Ray experience. They're
Oh,
gonna get
because you have a company called Coach Ray Inspires. So you want to share with the audience about your business and what you do?
Yes, I would love to. Coach Ray Inspires. I am the CEO and owner of Coach Ray Inspires, and what I do is motivational, inspirational speaking. I go in. You got teenagers you want me to come speak to. You got adults you want me to come talk to, parents, community members. I train educators, parents, community members on how to effectively build and create positive relationships with their students and kids. Also with coaches and mentors, same thing. I train on how to build those relationships and help those students and student athletes be successful in the long term of their life and transition through the difficult changes in their life. So Coach Ray Inspires that's what it is. It's just we're gonna dive into these schools, we're gonna dive into these communities, and we're gonna help this next generation. We're gonna talk to the adults that have the close knit impact on these kids and get these adults right so that these kids can start right. And where it came from is because I started thinking, God really put it on my heart. I had been mentoring for a long time. And I got a lot of kids that I mentor who've gone on to college, military. They got kids now, and I started thinking to myself, I'm one person. And I can only reach but so many as one person. But what if I train people on the methods that I use to reach kids? So if I could train 50 people on my methods, then those 50, each one of those 50 reached 10 kids. Think about the numbers. We started
Yeah.
impacting greater scale. So that's where the company came from. And God is really moving the company forward. God is, I took some time and I hit the grind mode for a little over a year and was like, we're gonna figure this thing out. We're gonna get it going. And now God is really coming He's really putting me in the position that He told me 2 years ago. He's putting me in the position that He promised me 2 years ago when He said, I need you to do this. I need you to stop thinking about yourself as just a football coach. And
Mm,
you are so much more. And God is
yes.
really starting to do what He said.
Wow. Yeah. That's incredible. That's awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. Any closing thoughts? So, anyone who's looking to write a book, to be more than what they currently are, what advice would you want to give them?
Don't wait. Don't wait. Don't second guess yourself. When you start second guessing yourself, then you give up on the thought process. And you start letting people who have no direct or vested interest in your thought process change your thoughts. If God gave you a vision, You go through with it. Because he didn't waste time creating you for that vision for nothing.
Wow. Mm-hmm. 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 That's awesome. Sean Warren has been with us watching live. I know that your mentor coach, Deborah Fry, was live and she's been watching us. She's making some comments here and there. And then Brian Leonard and BJ Martin. Do you know BJ Martin?
BJ
Miss
Martin,
B.
yeah.
Yeah, she says, "Hey, Coach Ray." I just want to say to everyone, this has been such a pleasure. I'm looking forward to having Coach Ray back, specifically even on the BTG platform, which is our youth leadership platform to really talk to our young people and specifically our parents. Because, like you said, it is the adults. We lead the way. We lead the way. And we need to do better. We need to show up better. I remember having my hand smacked. I was in a church service once, and they gave me the mic. I don't know why they gave me the mic. And we were in a youth conference, and I said one thing that we as an adults have to stop doing is saying our children are to be seen and not be heard. We have to hear our young people. Our young people have a voice that God gave to them, and we have to start hearing them because a lot of rebellion comes from that as well. A lot of the grief and disappointment in life comes from us smothering the young people or ignoring them and not seeing them for what God has put them on the earth to do. So anyway, this is number one best-selling author, Coach Ray, and the book again is Grief Through His Eyes. How can people get the book?
People can right now. You can inbox me. You can cash app me. Inbox me. I'll give you my cash app information, and I'll ship it right out to you. Cash app information is $ Coach Ray Inspires, and I can send you a copy. I will say this, and it's funny because you brought up the BTG platform, and I said, well, I wanted to wait to tell people after we finished the interview. But yeah, I appreciate the opportunity for you and you believing in me enough to bring me on that project to do something special to impact the next generation. So I'm definitely looking forward to working close knit with you on that project and bringing that stuff to the forefront so we can impact the next generation on a bigger scale. And
Yeah.
please believe, like, I am easily accessible.
Yes. Tell people.
At everything is at Coach Ray Inspires. It's very simple. You want my Instagram, my TikTok, at Coach Ray Inspires, my email, coachrayinspires@gmail.com. I kept it as simple and seamless as possible.
And I love your shirt. You kind of got that in there. Coach Ray Inspires. I love that.
Yeah.
CRI. I see it. I see you.
Well, you gotta, if you don't believe in the brand, who's gonna believe in the brand? And that's just what it is. God said you gotta be what I created you to be. You have to, and I'm so thankful for the process that I had to go through to get to this level of my life, because God created me for something bigger, and it was to be a bigger impact than I ever thought. And He is making sure that I stick to my part on that. He ain't letting me waver from that. And I thank you. And I'm, like I said again, I'm very excited, ready to roll on these new projects with you so we can go ahead and bring these things to the forefront and get these kids living better and being better.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm really excited about it too. Again, this is number one best-selling author, Coach Ray, and the book is Grief Through His Eyes. He is a mentor, educator, trainer, coach. And we are so excited to have him here on the Own It platform. This was featured in, I believe you guys were in the June issue. And they'll be featured in the August issue as well. Their interviews, the lineup of interviews will be captured in the August issue as well. If you're interested in it, just hit me up. As Coach Ray said, you see my name. You just say my name, put my name in, and you'll find me everywhere. Everywhere I am on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, it has been truly a pleasure. So glad to have him on with me. I'm so proud of the work that you're doing. You are let me just say this and then we'll go, is he was awarded the Best Male Mentor Award by the Black Men Rocks organization. What an honor to receive it. I can see it just based on our recent conversations that you are definitely worthy of the award. And so thank you so very much for being with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out. Good night, and have a blessed rest of the week.
Y'all be